The car died with a sound that felt final. Not a sputter, not a warning cough, just silence. And then the wind hit us. It slammed into the side of the car like something alive, howling across the empty road, shaking the frame as if it wanted to tear us loose from the world entirely. Snow blasted across the windshield in thick, blinding waves, turning everything outside into a white void. "Tell me that's temporary," she said. I turned the key again. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. I don't think it is. The heater was already fading. The warm air that had been gently humming through the vents a minute ago was now barely a whisper, and getting colder by the second. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled slowly, steadying herself in a way I wasn't sure I could. "Okay," she said, "we're not panicking." But her voice trembled just enough to betray her. And that's when it hit me. We weren't just stuck. We were stranded, miles from the nearest town. No signal, a dead engine, and a storm that was getting worse by the minute. I swallowed hard, and sitting beside me was my best friend's mom. Her name was Sarah. I'd known her for years, ever since high school. She was the kind of mom everyone liked. Warm, easy to talk to, always the one who remembered your favorite snack, who asked how you were doing and actually waited for the answer. But now, sitting in that frozen car, she didn't look like someone's mom. She looked scared. Her hair, usually neatly tied back, had come loose from the wind when we ran to the car earlier. Strands of it clung to her face. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold, and her hands were already rubbing together for warmth. "You said the gas was fine, right?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quickly. "Full tank." "It's not that. Probably the battery or something electrical." "Something electrical," she repeated, like she was trying to make it sound less terrifying than it was. The wind howled louder, rocking the car again. We both flinched. "I should have checked the weather," I muttered. "You couldn't have known it would get this bad this fast," she said. But we both knew that wasn't entirely true. The forecast had warned about the storm. We just didn't think it would catch us out here. We had been driving back from picking up supplies for her house, just a simple trip to town. My best friend, Jason, had asked me to help her since he was out of state for work. "Just make sure she gets back safe," he had said. I almost laughed at the memory. Safe. Right. Now here we were, stuck on an empty road surrounded by nothing but snow-covered trees and rising panic. I pulled out my phone again, even though I already knew what it would say. No signal. She checked hers too. Same result. The silence that followed felt heavier than the storm itself. "What do we do?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked around the car, thinking. Then she said something that made my chest tighten. "We stay alive." The temperature inside the car was dropping fast. We could feel it. It crept in slowly at first, like an unwelcome guest, then settled deep into our bones. My fingers were already stiff. My breath came out in visible clouds. "This is bad," I said. She nodded. "Yes," she said calmly. "But it's not hopeless." "How?" I asked, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. She turned toward me fully now, her expression steady. "We conserve heat. We stay together. We don't let ourselves fall asleep." The last part hit me harder than anything. "Why not?" Her eyes softened. "Because if we do, we might not wake up." The weight of that settled over us. And suddenly, the car felt a lot smaller. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. Time had started to blur. We tried everything we could think of, wrapping ourselves in whatever we had, turning the key again and again, even briefly stepping out to check the hood, which was a mistake. The cold outside was brutal, slicing through layers like they weren't even there. Nothing worked. We were stuck, and the cold was winning. My teeth were chattering now. I couldn't stop it. She noticed. "Hey," she said softly. I looked at her. Her expression had changed. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was determination. "We can't let our body temperatures drop," she said. "Not like this." I nodded weakly. "I know, but what can we?" She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she said it. "We'll have to keep each other warm." The words hung in the air between us. I froze, not from the cold this time. It wasn't what she said. It was what it meant. For a moment, neither of us moved. The storm roared outside, but inside the car, everything felt unnaturally still. "You mean," I started, unsure how to finish the sentence. She met my eyes. "I mean we share body heat," she said, gently but firmly. "It's survival." Of course it was. I knew that. Anyone would. But knowing it didn't make it feel any less complicated. She was my best friend's mom. And yet, right now, she was also the only person standing between me and freezing to death. Or maybe, the other way around. She must have seen the hesitation in my face. Listen to me, she said, her voice softer now. This isn't about anything except staying alive. Okay, I nodded. Okay. We shifted closer. At first, it was awkward, two people trying to navigate a situation neither of us had ever imagined. But the cold didn't give us time to overthink. It forced us together. We wrapped ourselves in the same blanket, pressing shoulder to shoulder, then closer, until there was no space left between us. And slowly, the warmth began to return. Not much, but enough. Enough to feel like we had a chance. Talk to me, she said after a while. About what? Anything, she replied. We need to stay awake. So I did. I talked about Jason, how we met, the stupid things we used to do, the way he always managed to get us into trouble and somehow out of it again. She laughed. A real laugh. And for a moment, the storm faded into the background. He's always been like that, she said. Even as a kid. Yeah, I said. Some things don't change. She smiled. Then her expression softened. Thank you, she said. For what? For being here with me. I shook my head. Of course I'm here. No, she said quietly. I mean it. You didn't have to come today. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just shrugged. Couldn't let you go alone. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. The hours dragged on. The cold came and went in waves, depending on how close we stayed, how much we moved, how hard we fought to keep ourselves alert. At some point, she started telling stories too. About her life. About raising Jason. About the things she never said out loud. I wasn't always this strong, she admitted. You seem pretty strong to me, I said. She smiled faintly. That's because you're seeing me now. Not everything it took to get here. I didn't push, but I listened. And the more she spoke, the more I realized something. She wasn't just my friend's mom. She was a person. One who had struggled, who had doubted herself, who had kept going anyway. Just like anyone else. At one point, I felt my eyes closing. Just for a second, but she noticed immediately. Hey, she said sharply. Stay with me. I forced my eyes open. I'm good, I mumbled. No, she said firmly. You're not. Talk to me. I don't know what to say, I admitted. Then listen, she said. And she reached for my hand. Her grip was warm, strong. You're going to get through this, she said. We both are. There was something in her voice that made me believe her. Even when everything around us said otherwise. The storm didn't let up. If anything, it got worse. The car creaked under the pressure of the wind. Snow piled up against the doors, sealing us in tighter with every passing minute. But we didn't stop. We kept talking, kept moving, kept fighting, together. And then, just when it felt like we couldn't hold on any longer, a sound cut through the storm. Faint, distant, but unmistakable. An engine. I froze. Did you hear that? I whispered. Her eyes widened. Yes. We both strained to listen. There it was again. Closer this time. Headlights flickered faintly through the snow, barely visible but real. Relief hit me so hard it almost hurt. We're saved, I said, my voice breaking. She squeezed my hand. Told you, she whispered. It took time for them to reach us. The storm made everything slow, difficult. But they came. Rescue workers. Lights. Voices. Movement. The door was forced open, and the cold rushed in, but this time, it didn't feel like an enemy. It felt like the end of something. Something we had survived. Later, wrapped in blankets, sitting in the back of a rescue vehicle, I looked over at her. She looked exhausted, but alive, and when she caught my eye, she smiled. A quiet, grateful smile. You did good, she said. I shook my head. We did good. She nodded. Yes, she said. We did. That night changed something, not in a strange or uncomfortable way, but in a real one. It reminded me how fragile life is, how quickly things can fall apart, and how, sometimes, survival comes down to something simple. Staying together, looking out for each other, choosing not to give up, even when everything tells you to. When Jason finally came back and heard what happened, he just stared at me. You kept her safe? He asked. I smiled faintly. We kept each other safe. And that was the truth. Because in that storm, in that frozen car, with nothing but fear and cold closing in, we didn't just survive, we proved something, that even in the harshest conditions, the strongest warmth doesn't come from heaters or fire. It comes from people, from connection, from refusing to let go, and sometimes, from the simple, human decision to stay.